Okay, class, first off, thank you for coming in so quietly and taking your seats. Today, just basically to set this up, today is going to be about leadership. This is the second lesson in the activity project of the Shark Tank, and it is about leadership. So the first thing that I would like to do is go through the essential question, and that is, how can leadership become priority in business? And then we've also got the I can statement. Ryan, could you read the I can statement for us?
I can differentiate between good and bad qualities in leaders.
Very good, thank you. So qualities are standard of something that are measured against other things that are similar, but they distinctively have attributes or characteristics that someone possesses. That's what leader is. And so basically I would start off the class with having them fill out a sheet. It's called How I Rank Myself in Qualities of Being a Leader. And it just basically goes through, I definitely have this quality, I'm pretty good at it, I need to work on this, or I don't have this quality at all. That's basically setting up for the students to understand that there are different types of qualities, and just trying to get them to start thinking about what those qualities could be in themselves. So we would spend a few minutes doing this, filling out this information, and then what I would have the students do is they would talk with a shoulder buddy and discuss this while I walked around the room to make sure that they were participating and communicating about the worksheet that they had to fill out. And then at the end, I would probably have them put their name on it, and then I would collect them as well for the data. So that takes us into explaining what leadership is, why it's important, and also the reasons that they need to have it incorporated into their project, and understanding that to make their project a success. So what makes a leader? Do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. Is that really the type of philosophy that we should have as leaders? Leadership is not a job title. It's the process of maximizing efforts, achieving a similar goal. So today we're going to introduce leadership. We're going to define leaders and leadership, what being a leader is not, what being a leader is, and then we're going to talk about great leaders and the importance of leadership. Leadership is the process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others to achieve a goal. Kevin Cruz said this in Forbes magazine. So do as I say and as I do, not just the other way around, as we first talked about. So what leaders are not? That's the first thing that we're going to kind of go over to make sure that you have an understanding of what those qualities are not. It's not just a job title. It's not a characteristic or a trait. It's not a matter of seniority. It's not too slow to adapt, and it's not having poor communication skills. These are the things that define what being a leader are not about. So what is a good leader? A good leader is honest, a communicator, confident, creative, inspiring, and the last thing I have on the slide is about approachable. It's very important to be an approachable leader, and to make sure that whether it's your students or your faculty members, your colleagues, your staff, they need to have comfort in approaching you at all times. So great leaders, role models, model behavior for employees. Abraham Lincoln said, "Whatever you are, be a good one." Martin Luther King Jr., life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So speaking of great leaders, Abraham Lincoln was one of the greatest leaders that our country has had. He was the master of emotions, master communicator, master listener, and he led the United States during the Civil War. Is there anything else that any of my students in here would like to add as far as what would make Abraham Lincoln a great leader? So then at this time, I would give them a moment to kind of reflect and think about it and see if they had anything to add at that point. Before moving to the next slide about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So the civil rights movement involved everyone and embraced fear. He was great about getting people excited about why he was interested in doing something. kind of goes back to that golden circle, which we'll talk about in the next lesson as well. But understanding why we're doing it, not just what it is and how it is, but why we're doing it. So also I've attached this in my class. I would show this link. It's just a few minutes long of his speech. So the importance of leading. Passion is contagious. Great followers will arrive and making a difference. All of these things contribute to making great leaders. And the passion is contagious. I really enjoyed learning and understanding about that. Each one of you in this room need to understand that no matter which way that you are, whether you're a good leader or a poor leader, that is going to be contagious. And that's going to fall all the way down the chain. So in conclusion, we define what leadership is, what being a leader isn't, what being a leader is about. Great, we talked about great leaders and what they brought to the table as examples for us, and the importance of leadership. Does anybody have any questions at this point about any of these, or would like to reflect on them? Okay. So finally, this is leadership. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. John Quincy Adams. So basically, after I get done with the presentation about leadership, I would explain that we would be breaking up into groups. But before we did that, we would fill out this form. I would read the instructions and the directions to the students. It'd be lessons in leadership, identifying a good leader. So I'd read through the background about it, and then I would give the directions. And basically what it is 10 qualities of good leader. So as the students could take notes during the presentation, the lecture that I gave, they would already have some ideas on what would go on here as far as the qualities of being a good leader. They would fill this out. And then I would break them, after a few minutes, I would break them up into groups of 3. And if they were set up in this style of classroom, I would just, put 3 together, just make it easy. And then what they would do is they would fill out on this poster board or butcher paper or whatever, they would write down some of the ones that they had in common, and then they would also work through the ones that they found interesting from each other. And those would be about the leadership, about the qualities that they came up with. One other thing that I wanted to say after we got done with that would be that that it's really important that the students understand what being a leader is, because it's really going to make a difference on how they finish up with their project, with their final project. And then also, I would want them to understand that they must operate, through leadership. And then after we got done going through that project and that activity, I would explain the emergent leaders as a new format. That's not something that I had on the slide that I wanted to add. And that format in companies, they're using it a lot anymore. And basically what that means, and this is a new type of leadership quality, it's somebody that kind of works their way up in the rankings. Let's just take a company for example, and it's somebody that's kind of been kind of a go-to person for a company, and they emerge and they just continually rise until they get noticed and seen, and they step up when they need great ideas, and they become helpful to others, and they just kind of make their way up through the leadership that way. So basically, that would be the lesson that I would give. While followers are needed, quality leaders are also needed as well. So at the end of the lesson, what I would have is a lessons in leadership. This would be the homework assignment for the students to complete. We would talk one more time about the I can statement, that I can differentiate between good and bad qualities in leaders, and then I would hand them their worksheet upon the bell to ring, and it would be turned in later. Thank you.